I stumbled across a post online with a headline that said 6 things the ordinary family won't be able to afford in 10 years. And I live in Denmark, so the post was in Danish. I assume that somebody from Denmark made that post because some of these things are things that a lot of people in, especially United States and England and Germany, already are not really able to afford. So the first thing that was on the list was owning your own home, and this is something that you Americans who are watching this, you'll be able to say, yeah, we already have that. A lot of people are not able to buy a home because homes have increased in value so much over the past, especially 10 years, and wages have not been keeping up with the real estate prices. So that's something that, especially in the United States and England and in certain areas of the EU, is happening. And especially, I really think that's going to increase. It's not going to get any better. And in that area, this post is correct. I mean, that is going to be a sign of the future, is that less and less people are going to be able to afford their own home. And it doesn't help that housing has been commoditized. I mean, when I was young, and that was back in the past century, back in the 1990s and 80s, people didn't buy housing to invest and to speculate. You bought a house to have a home to live in, and the turnover, the rate of which that these houses were being put on the market to being sold and then bought and then resold again was so low because people bought a home to live there, maybe for the rest of their life, and so you didn't really have a market that was so open uh, to price increases, because every time a property is bought and sold, the price goes up every time. So the more often a property is set for sale and bought, every time the price goes up. And because we have such a busy housing market, just means that the price goes up more and more often. And so, of course, it becomes more expensive because people are using homes as commodities. They're selling them and they're buying them and selling them. There are so many people flipping properties today. I mean, actors are flipping properties. Uh, Ordinary people are flipping properties because that's one of the ways that you can get rich. That's one of the ways that you can create a passive income as it's marketed to people. And so you have all kinds of people flipping houses today who are speculating in that, investing in that, and of course that makes prices go up as well. So it's a vicious circle, is what I'm saying. So don't expect this to go the other way. On the contrary, um, what did I write here? Oh yeah. So besides the speculation and the investing part of housing that has infested the housing market, you also have private corporations buying into the housing market now. Yeah, in Denmark, there's a new company called Good Life, and what this company does is that it offers elderly people to buy a share in their homes. We're talking about people who are possibly retired, living in the big cities, who live in their own in their own private homes, and this company offers to buy a share in their home. So that means you don't have to go to the bank and take out a loan and having to pay a mortgage. No, you can simply outright sell a part of your home, and the company will then own this part and just give you money, and that's the end of the transaction. So in this way, we will see more and more corporations owning property in the big cities. And as a result of this is, of course, that young people will have to either fork over a lot more money to buy their first home, or they will have to rent. They'll have to become renters because corporations are also hiking up housing prices next to private owners who are buying houses because the demand is there. And so again, prices are going up. And this overall draws a picture of a housing market that's just going to go up, regardless of what you may think of that. The next thing that this post said an ordinary family wouldn't be able to afford in 10 years is a car, a new car. And in living in Denmark, I especially think about electric cars because our government has gone crazy about renewable energy and all this crap. So we're seeing the government subsidizing people buying electric cars while pushing taxes and fees onto fossil driven vehicles like diesel and gasoline. And these electric cars are dropping the value as a result of the high demand that is for electric cars in Denmark. But still, the price is high for new cars. And since wages are not following the price increase in cars and houses and so on, also in Denmark as well as in the United States, England, and many places in Europe, we'll see that a lot of people will not be able to afford a new car and will have to rely on older used cars. But then with electric cars, there's the issue of, well, if an electric car is 7-8 years old, is it adaptable? Is it able to be plugged into the electrical grid still? Is it an old technology? Has it been outdated in the years it's been owned by the previous person? And what about the batteries? Are they still durable? What a lot of issues that we haven't even examined yet will be present when people buy a used electrical vehicle. So there are definitely a lot of unknown variables when it comes to electrical vehicles compared to fossil-driven cars that we have a lot of experience with at this point. The third point that this post mentions is going on a holiday. As our governments are hitting down hard on climate issues and optimizing ways of transportation, then we will definitely see prices for plane tickets, plane traveling going up as well. Overall, the future is just going to be more expensive. Just think of it that way. The future will be more expensive. And traveling will be a part of it. Taking a plane to another country is going to be way more expensive because of climate taxation and what have we, regulations and overall government interference. So yeah, going on a holiday, that's going to be looked at as a luxury for a lot of people in the future, 10 years from now, probably. Eating out is another thing that this post has listed as a thing that an ordinary family won't be able to do in 10 years. The restaurant business is peculiar to me because it's actually a business where the restaurant expects the customer to subsidize its business model by paying the employees more than they get as an employee at that workplace. So if the employees were actually paid a livable wage, that means that the businesses would actually have to promote their products with a higher price to sustain their business model. But they don't want to do that. They want to lure people into their restaurants and the cafes with lower prices on their products, and then force you as a customer to pay more than what the bill says because their business model isn't actually viable as a business, which I think is it's a weird business in my opinion, because a healthy business will be able to pay its employees a livable wage, and not subsidize, and not forcing the customer to subsidize its employees to be paid for the work they do. That's my opinion. I know it's different in the United States, but here in Denmark, we don't normally tip people because they are on a union agreement from 1959, I think, 69, that guarantees these people a wage that includes service fees for their service. So we don't have that problem here, but I see there's a push in certain restaurants that they try to nudge customers to tip anyway, and I think it's a slippery slope going from there. When you're able to make a livable wage as a waitress or whatever, then pushing the envelope is always a bad idea. But in the United States, I know that the system is completely different, so I'm not gonna comment on that. But eating out is gonna be more expensive because of produce that has to be bought, vegetables and food in general that's gonna be that these restaurants are buying will be more expensive due to farming that's also under attack from government regulations because of climate and the environment. The farming industry is constantly being blamed for polluting and not doing enough about animal welfare, and to optimize in these fields will just make everything more expensive. And in the end, of course, going out to eat at a restaurant will also be expensive because you're at the end of the production line, so you're gonna have to fork over whatever expenses that there may be to optimizing these areas. So that's another thing. Then there are repairs. For I don't know how what it. I think also this is the same in the United States and England and other places of Europe. For the past 20 years, our government has been pushing academia. Our government has been simply pushing for young people to go to university to get a degree, because I remember back 20 years back when we were heading for the information society and we were all going to be knowledge workers, sitting behind a desk, working behind a computer, and we all need to go to university for that. And so today we can see the consequences. We can see that we have a lot of academics who are not really able to be applied to the workforce because their skills are not directly applicable to a company. And so it's really a question of where do they fit. But still, it creates the consequence that we need tradesmen now. We need electricians, we need mechanics, we need people who can do things with their hands instead of sitting behind a computer. And in Denmark, it is estimated that we're going to need around 100,000 tradesmen by 2030 because of, in my opinion, our stupid politicians promoting academia over trades. So it's going to be more expensive to get an electrician to pop by and help you with your light switches or whatever, and also plumbers and roofers and what have we. They're all going to be more expensive to get a hold of because they're not going to be that many, and they're going to be able to pick and choose. They're going to be able to choose whatever price they want to have, because, well, the market sets the demand. And again, if there's a high demand, then the tradesmen get to pick. So that's going to be more expensive as well. And it's going to be maybe hard to, in certain areas, actually get a tradesman to take a look at your problem. Then we have streaming and internet. I see that the streaming services are regularly, raising their prices, and in some instances they're diluting their products. They're removing things from their products that actually makes them less interesting, less desirable. and the whole market for streaming is is going in a very it's pyramid shaped, in my opinion. It's fewer and fewer companies going to be sitting at more and more of these services, and I expect as they do so, they're going to gain the monopoly that incentivizes them to dilute their products and simply make them worse while raising the prices. So for that, I don't subscribe to any of these streaming services. But I think people are gonna get a lesser product 10 years from now, and the price is gonna be higher. And I really advise people to consider whether they need these services or not. Do you need the whole TV package, or can you subscribe for a smaller one, or do you need it at all? Um, so yeah, internet is like breathing. You need the internet today. It's like you need air. And for people who are maybe working poor or really have financial difficulties in paying their bills, and so it's gonna be almost a democratic issue. I I think if people don't have access to the internet. I mean, without access to the internet, you don't have access to society. I mean, in Denmark, a lot of the municipal services have been digitized. So if you don't have internet, you can't access, you know, public services, public platforms. You can't get in contact with your local municipality because everything is done online. Uh, you can still call them and schedule for a meeting uh, uh, at the city hall, but everything is just becoming so online that if you don't have internet, then you're really screwed. So that's how it is in Denmark, and I hope that it's not as evolved in other countries, but I think it's going in that direction. That's certainly how the government wants to push it. So I can see how that's going to be a very big issue for people, not just financial, but democratically. Being part of the society, being able to voice your concerns. If you don't have internet, how are you going to do that? So I think there's a valid reason for having that on the list, because it's very much a social and economic and democratic platform today. So yeah, those were the six things that I stumbled upon, and I thought I'd just talk about them. And I don't know what you think. I don't know how the situation is in your country, but if you have any comments to these things, if you have any things that you think are left out, then put them in the comment section. All right. Have a nice day.